Hey there. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to illustrate how a 1 year point-to-point crediting system breaks down. Essentially, how does this work? How do we grow our money using the 1 year point-to-point crediting strategy? So essentially what happens is this. Um, let's say in this example, we are starting with $500,000 of a potential rollover amount. And currently, the participation bonus is 230%. So, what does that mean and how does this work? So, let's just say on day one of year one, the CIBC Balanced Asset 5 index is at 5%. Okay. Now, what happens is on day 365, year one, by the way, that's where they get the word point to point. Point one is day one, point two is day 365. So from the first day of the year to the last day of the year, it went from 5% to 15. So in this simplified equation, what you would want to know is that the index grew by 10% year one. Now, if that is all you were getting, right, that would still be a pretty productive year. Now, what we're going to do, though, is we're going to factor in the participation bonus of 230%. So what happens is we take that 10% rate of return, which was just from the point-to-point growth, we multiply it by 230%, which gives us 23%. So that's actually what you would get credited in your first year. So let's take a look at how this works. So 23% of 500,000, which was the rollover amount that you started with, would be $115,000. So 500,000, the original amount, plus 115,000 comes out to 650,000. So your year one ending value would be 653,000. Not a bad year at all. Now let's go to day one, year two. So if day 365, the market closed at 15%, let's just say it opened at 15% day one, year two. Point to point, day 365, year two, it's at 5%. So what we're saying here is there was a negative 10% in the market that particular year. So would we absorb a 10% loss? The answer is no, because remember, using indexing, you just get a zero whenever there's a minus. So if the participation bonus is still 230%, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 0 times 230. And we remember anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So year two ending value would stay at 650. So you actually just retained your value, even though you have a down year. Now, the next is going to be day one, year three. So remember, if at the end of day 365, year two, the market closed at 5%, it's going to open the next day at 5%. So point to point, let's say on the third year, the rate of return from the first day to the last day was 6%. Take that participation bonus of 230%, you take 6%, which is the rate of return, multiply it by a 230%, participation bonus comes out to 13.8%. So now let's take a look at what that means. So 13.8% of 650,000, which was the ending value the last year, is 89,700. So 650,000 ending value of last year plus this year's growth of 89,700 comes out to $739,700. So year three ending value is 739,700. Now this is just an example. That is all hypothetical with simplified numbers of how your money can grow, utilizing the rate of return on an annual basis, point to point from the CIBC Balanced Asset 5, then you multiply the participation bonus on top of that. The other thing to keep in mind and to remember is when you have a loss year, and you will have loss years, you won't absorb the loss. You will just sit at a zero. No growth, no loss that particular year. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes. I hope this makes sense, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.